Round 2 of borrowing the Mini X. Here we go again. Conduit in the back of the truck, following the mini excavator. Baron's being extremely gracious again and letting me borrow it for the weekend. It's a wonderful brisk morning here. It's early fall, and today I'm here to do some more trenching. I'm getting our secondary electric service, which is from our transformer pad to the house, started trenching today. I went and spent almost $1,600 on conduit earlier this week, 22 sticks of 3-inch PVC, which is pretty outrageous. And I'm gonna put that in the ground this weekend and never see or think about it again. This is gonna be a 220-foot long run underground here from behind the porta pot where that Mini X is sitting, all the way up here and to the side of the house right there where that conduit is sticking out of the wall. That's where our secondary will enter the house. This conduit extends underneath the slab all the way over to our utility room, where it pops up right here, and our electric main breaker panel is going to be mounted just above it, right here. I've gathered some other materials for the service installation. We'll get to those later, but for now, let's start trenching. Believe it or not, there is a silt fence in here. I gotta pull it up because I gotta trench right through this. But oh my gosh, this really got grown up. This was nothing but dirt. We planted this grass and it just took off like crazy, along with a lot of weeds. If you remember back to our February video where we started the electric trench, I started by digging this 5-foot square hole, and now it is totally overgrown with weeds. So that's what I'm clearing here. I used my long fiberglass tape to sort of mark my route out. Had to scoot the porta pot just a bit, but it goes up around the right side of the house there. I'm trying to dig to 36 inches deep everywhere. However, sometimes I'm hitting some pretty decent sized rocks that are stopping me at around 30 inches. The frost line is at around 36 inches. And this conduit's probably gonna have water in it eventually. So that's why I'd like to get down below, or at least at frost line. These machines are just amazing. I can't even imagine how long it would take me to do this with a digging bar and a shovel. It would be terrible. The ground is quite hard. It's very dry. We haven't had a lot of rain at all in the past couple months. Really the whole summer. It's been fairly dry. This is just like playing in the sandbox as a kid. It's like my childhood dream come true. Running a real size machine with real dirt. Not just a Tonka truck. I pretty much lived off of Legos and Tonka when I was a little kid, so heavy equipment has always been fascinating to me, and I'm lucky to be able to use it now. So this is after about 4 hours of digging, about halfway, I think a little over halfway, maybe 120 feet in. Did hit some pretty good sized rocks in here, so that makes things go a little bit slower, but I'm gonna hop back on it. I think by the end of today I can get up to the house. So I didn't want to get too far down there and work myself into a corner up here at the house because it's a little bit trickier up here. I'm coming in at a really shallow angle, and the meter is going to be mounted right up here on this wall. The line has got to come up in this 36-inch sweep up to the meter, and then back down again to this conduit where it will go into the utility room. So to keep this conduit run as straight as possible, I'm digging almost parallel to the foundation, but not quite. I'll bend the conduit just a little bit in the trench to meet this angle, and I'll probably have to dig pretty deep here to make this all work and give myself enough room to maneuver everything. So I've got a bit of a predicament here that I'm trying to figure out. When I put this gutter pipe in, I was thinking this would come at more of an angle and that I would miss it, but looking at the detail that I'm supposed to follow for this installation, it's gonna get pretty close to interfering if I want this thing to be plumb. So I have a couple options. I think I can either reroute the gutter pipe and come out this way with the gutter pipe, or yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm gonna mount the meter up here on the wall. I think I'm gonna try to build it out with 2x6 so it's sitting out a little bit, and that's gonna give me a little bit more clearance with this, and then we'll go from there. For some reason, this knockout gave me one heck of a time. Here I'm putting blocking on the inside of the wall between the studs to get secure mounting for the blocks on the outside. And then messing with this knockout more because I realized I punched out one hole too small. Okay. All right, I made my decision. I'm gonna cut the pipe right there. Gonna reroute that to a 45. It's probably for the best anyway because that pipe kind of runs straight over here, combines with this existing downspout, and all funnels into this 1 4-inch pipe, which probably is gonna be overloaded when it really rains hard. So I'm gonna reroute this one to just come straight out. It'll be a solo pipe. That one will do a 45. They'll meet up together in the middle and I'll have my rain pit somewhere out there. You know what they say, hindsight, it's always 20/20. One thing I've definitely learned about construction is there's a lot of doing things, then figuring out they were wrong, undoing them, then redoing them. And that's the beauty of DIY building. All right, it's a brand new day. I think I have started to get this thing figured out. I've got my sweep mocked up here, got my box temporarily hanging on the wall, using my laser level here to sort of line things up and make sure things are gonna be nice and plumb when I put the conduit in. Now all I gotta do is get this trench here to meet up with the one I've already dug out in the yard, and then I can start laying my pipe. It's rocks like these that make digging with this 12-inch bucket really slow, especially when the rock is 3 feet down underground and bridging your trench. Another trick I had to learn with the Mini X that I hadn't done before was jumping over the trench or bridging across it in order to finish digging it out. This is a little bit awkward at first. There's a few simultaneous motions, but it didn't take too long to figure it out, and I'm just glad I didn't have to dig that last bit out by hand. Well, the camera died last night, but I did get a good bit of pipe in the trench, got my 90 all glued up, and I have about 6 sections put together. But I did have to do a little bit of creative work in the trench here with some blocks to get the thing to bend right, to get this thing to come right up into my meter base. I now have the meter base fully mounted in. I use 3-inch headlock screws. They're basically like a lag screw replacement. Use duct seal behind that, and then on my block behind it, before I put the meter in, I used some zip system tape just to waterproof that little block that I made to get the meter off the wall a bit. Not bad. Got my big jam nut here. This little plastic clamp seemed kind of flimsy to me, but it was required in the detail, so I didn't want to not have it. Gluing these pipes up is a little bit tricky solo, so here's what I'm doing. I used a ratchet strap, tightened around this to give myself kind of a push handle, and then I have my glue and everything right ready to go. I've got my pipe here that's already a little bit backfilled at the end, so it won't slide. I've got that propped up out of the ditch. I've got this one propped up out of the ditch, and that way I can work at waist height too, and I'm not being gassed out by the fumes. Gotta work super quick because it's hot out. This cement waits for absolutely no one. I hold it for a little bit once it's fully seated, because the glue can push the pipe back out if you're not careful. Usually happens in colder weather though. It's hot weather, the stuff sets like that. But without this ratchet strap, there's no way that I could have pulled that in tight. I would have no grip on this slippery pipe. If you have two people, you can just have someone back there pushing, it's no problem. There we go, only like 15 more. Later that evening, my buddy Zach popped by. He helped with some of the stone dust backfill. Sometimes it's nice to have a second set of eyes, even for something as simple as dumping stone dust in the bottom of this trench. For example, I couldn't actually see the bottom of the trench when I'm sitting in the skid steer, so when I'm solo, I've got to guess and check on this. All right, it's the start of the 4th day here working on the electric service. Yesterday, Zach, my buddy, came over, helped get the stone dust in. That moved along pretty quickly. We vacuumed the pull string through the pipe as well. I didn't get any of that on footage. We were just trying to get it done, but it's really easy. Look at our old video if you want to see how it's done. Got all the stone dust in, and today I'm gonna try to get the backfill done. It's gonna rain this afternoon, which actually is gonna help because it's been horribly dry here. It hasn't rained in like weeks. I feel like I'm digging in the Sahara Desert. It's so dusty, and of course there's lots of rock as well. So hopefully it doesn't rain too hard, but enough to help kind of settle and compact some of this dirt. To start off, I'm just going along the line here, hand picking all these rocks, these big rocks anyway, and throwing them outside of my backfill pile. I'm not supposed to have any rocks greater than 2 inches, but in soil like this, it's literally impossible. So I'm getting out the big stuff and anything that's reasonably sized. But really the compacted stone dust all on top of the pipe is really what's protecting it. I pulled in a little bit of backfill at a time with the excavator, then picked out the rocks by hand. Brought out my old friend, the jumping jack tamper. Got some gas in it, got some oil in it. Let's get it fired up and see if we can tamp this trench down. Just wanted to highlight this impeccable lifting form. All back, no legs, as they say. First pull! Well, the latest run with the tamper was somewhat short-lived. At the end of it, I noticed it was leaking oil pretty bad. That boot is completely shot. I mean, just demolished. It's ripped at pretty much every rib there. And that is the beauty of buying crappy used equipment. So, I think I'm going to just keep pressing on. We're gonna get a rainstorm this afternoon, so I think the rain will help settle the trench by itself a little bit. I don't really have time to screw around with this thing. I looked into the bellows boots briefly, and the actual part for it from the manufacturer is like $500. I only paid $350 for the whole machine, so you can bet I'm not buying one of those. There's Chinese off-brand ones on eBay for 40 bucks. They're not the right size, but before I sell this thing, I might grab one of those so I don't sell it broken. The trench is backfilled within a foot, so I got to put this caution tape down. All right, it's been a long weekend. 225 foot of trench, solo, except for Zach coming for an hour and a half. Mounted the meter. I'm ready for a nap. And I went into this weekend thinking I was gonna get all this done and get our well trench done. That's another 100 feet of 4-foot trench That's gonna have to wait for this week. I'll probably just come back after work a few evenings and try to knock that out. I'll also come back and finish wiring up the meter to the main panel. That's gonna be another project in itself. But overall, I'm happy with how the trench turned out. We'll see how much it settles since I wasn't able to get my full compaction layer in because of the tamper being down. So we'll just watch for some settlement right up through there. Worst case, I'll throw some more dirt on it with the skid steer and we'll be good to go. A few weeks later, a rep from the electric company came out to confirm that everything was good to go before they came in to pull the wire. So yeah, here's where the 4-inch comes up, and the 3-inch here. This is about a 6x6 hole, and the detail set about 29 inches to the bottom of the screenings. And I figured I'll dump some more screenings in here for you guys. You can shovel it as needed to put your box pad on. But does this look okay for you, or do I need to do anything different?
Yeah, it looks all right.
Okay.
And then can you have screenings here for the guys then?
Yeah, do you just want to, can I just dump it right here in the hole or something?
Yep.
And then that way they can shovel it right over?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Is like a skid loader bucket or two all they need, or they just need it to kind of fill around the,
yeah,
cover the wires and fill around the pad?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Alrighty.
Sounds good. So you just needed to come out, take a look at it, and verify it was all good to go?
Yeah, make sure it's ready to go, and thanks, Alex.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
And that is the story on the electric trench. There is one last 180-foot section on the neighbor's property that will be dug right up to their transformer, but that will be done by our excavation contractor Travis and his guys just the day before the service is actually installed by the utility company. But now we're ready for the full wire pull. It's a total of about 600 feet of primary high voltage cable and then another 230 feet of secondary or so from the transformer to the house. I'm going to do that in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. If you thought this was interesting, check out our other couple of videos on how this electric service got started. And as always, we'd be forever grateful if you electrified that like button until it turns blue. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.